Emma Larson never craved the spotlight. After years of wrangling big landscaping projects for shiny office towers in downtown Portland, she was done with the endless pitch meetings, the developers who only cared about green for Instagram clout, the corporate grind that left her hollow. Her divorce, though CIVYL, stripped her raw, pushing her to seek something quieter, something hers. Not just a house, but a life she could shape down to the air she breathed. So when she found the unassuming two-story tucked in a sleepy suburban cul-de-sac 2 hours outside the city, it wasn't the curb appeal that hooked her. It was the land. Sloped just right, facing west, it drank the Oregon rain like it was born for it. Before she even unpacked, Emma was sketching not for the house, which she barely planned to touch, but for what would hum beneath it. A rainwater collection system, self-sustaining, woven into a native plant garden. This wasn't just her being eco-friendly. It was about control, about building something no one could take away. Underground tanks would store water filtered through gravel and carbon. Pipes would feed raised beds and perennial patches. It was simple, efficient, and quiet. She got the permits, hired a licensed plumber for the underground work, and made sure every valve and backflow met code. If anyone snooped, they'd find nothing to complain about. Her neighbors seemed fine at first. A few waved as she hauled tools from her truck. An older guy down the street nodded appropriately at the stone border she was laying along her yard. Emma kept it polite, but short. She wasn't here to make buddies, she was here to build. Then she noticed Susan Wheeler across the street. Susan wasn't loud or in your face, not at first. She saw exact saw. Her lawn looked like it had been trimmed with a ruler. Her beige shutters matched her driveway trim to the shade. Her trash cans vanished the second the truck rolled by. Emma clocked it right away, and she could feel Susan clocking her too not as a neighbor, but as someone who didn't fit the mold. It started small. Susan's glances turned into stares, her dog walks lingering a bit too long near Emma's water access panel, the kind that sat flush with the dirt. Susan never asked questions, and Emma never offered answers. 3 weeks after the final inspection cleared, a city code officer showed up, clipboard in hand, saying someone had reported an unlicensed irrigation system leaking gray water into the neighborhood drains. Emma didn't blink. She walked him through the setup, showed him the permits. He left with a shrug. The next day, a manila envelope appeared in her mailbox. No address, just a single sheet inside. Saw watch it. Saw no signature, but the message was clear. Susan didn't wave that day. Emma didn't call the cops or lose her cool. She brewed tea, opened her laptop, and started logging everything soil sensor data, tire marks by her curb, a shadow on her fence that didn't belong. She wasn't paranoid. She was thorough. She'd learned from years of corporate backstabbing that quiet hostility always grew teeth. 3 days later, a rainstorm hit, and her system worked like a dream. Gutters funneled water, tanks filled, beds drank. She went to bed calm. By morning, the system was dead. A pressure drop in the main line. She found the problem. Someone had shoved a wad of filthy insulation into the intake, deliberate and precise. No cameras caught it. No footprints. Just intent. Emma cleared the blockage, added a VY Bratation sensor to the hatch, and kept MOVYing. Susan, meanwhile, got bolder. Her dog walks stretched longer. Her garden hose crept into the shared easement. When another neighbor put up a bird bath, Susan was there with a printed list of mosquito rules. Emma didn't bite. She built instead thorn plants, motion-sensitive lights tuned for human height, a rerouted overflow line. Not a weapon, just insurance. Because in a place like this, ignoring the game was the riskiest move. Then it flipped. One morning, Emma woke to water hissing not from her house, but across the street. Susan's sprinklers were going berserk, spraying like a fire hose, flooding her lawn, driveway, even the sidewalk. It had rained all night, and the ground was already a sponge. Susan stormed out in a robe, yelling at her phone, fiddling with the valve by her garage, cursing loud enough to wake the block. No one helped. The water kept gushing. By afternoon, a city utility crew rolled up. Susan stood there, arms crossed, foot tapping, looking for someone to blame. Emma watched from behind her blinds, saying nothing. The next day, a thick envelope was taped to Emma's door. Inside, a fake neighborhood oversight letter claimed her system was illegally redirecting water. It screamed Susan, same smug tone, same flimsy authority. Emma didn't respond. She called her contractor for a full system check, got a county engineer to inspect, and kept piling up EVY denke. Susan saw the engineer and swept non-existent leaves on her porch, pretending not to care. That night, Emma's motion sensors pinged. A hooded figure crept along her property line, pausing by the overflow pipe before vanishing. Emma saved the footage, filed a police report, and added it to her growing binder. The harassment ramped up. Her gate was left open, latch tampered. Susan's dog walks hit 3 times a day, each one pausing exactly 30 seconds by Emma's driveway. A letter from a shady law firm claimed Emma's system caused water damage to an adjacent property. Then came the storm of brutal 2-day downpour. Emma's system hummed, but water bubbled up from Susan's side, flooding her yard, seeping into her basement. Susan was out there, screaming at utility workers, while VYing papers pointing at Emma's house. But Emma hadn't touched a thing. The water wasn't hers. Susan had crossed the line first. The neighborhood felt warped after that. Windows cracked open when Emma came home. Neighbors who once waved now stared. Susan's basement damage was bad crews dug up her yard. Tarp went up, sprinklers vanished. Her dog stopped appearing. Emma stayed silent, but the retaliation didn't. A fake utility notice. A bag of mud on her porch. A scratch on her truck. Then, after a weekend away, she came home to a chemical stench. Her garden was scorched, soil black, a trail leading to her overflow valve. Someone had poured poison. Emma photographed it, called the cops, showed them her binder. The officer was skeptical, but filed the report. She didn't stop there. Hazardous material specialists, soil tests, contractor consults. Then a letter arrived, real postage, from a woman named Clara on the next block. Clara had seen someone near Emma's property during the flood, heard whispers that Susan was targeting the new woman. She was scared but couldn't stay quiet. Emma wrote back, a simple thank you. The silence was breaking. She called her system designer and added an auxiliary channel, a backup overflow pipe, legal but hidden, controlled by a physical key. When the next rain came, she watched it fill, valve closed, just testing. Susan sat on her porch, staring, her lawn half dead, repairs stalled. Neither blinked. The next storm hit harder, unforecasted, a gray beast that pounded the cul-de-sac. Emma's system was ready, tanks cycled, sensors green. Susan's yard wasn't. Water poured from her garage, her drains failing. Emma saw it. Susan's own illegal pipe, buried to sabotage Emma, was backfiring. Cops showed up, called by Susan, who waved a laughable diagram with red arrows drawn in paint. Emma handed over her phone, showing real-time system logs, stamped permits. The officer scrolled, nodded, and told Susan to get an engineer if she wanted action. "It's rain," he said, walking away. That night, Emma opened the auxiliary valve. Not for revenge, but for clarity. The water moved, legal, smooth, and if it hit Susan's illegal trench, that wasn't Emma's fault. By morning, Susan's lawn was a swamp. Her foundation barriers flattened. Susan sued. A flimsy CIVYL claimed property damage, mental distress, land devaluation. Emma didn't flinch. Her binder was ready. Permits, logs, engineer reports, even proof of Susan's illegal pipe. In court, Susan's lawyer had nothing but blurry photos and hot air. Emma's attorney laid out the EVY denke, including a city report on Susan's unauthorized tap. The judge dismissed the case, telling Susan to come back with real proof. She stormed out, heels clicking like gunfire. The lock on Emma's gate was broken again that week. A message. But the final storm came, a monster of wind and thunder. At 1:17 a.m., Emma's system screamed water surging backward from Susan's fractured pipe. She flipped the cutoff, redirected the flow, and saved her setup. In the mud, she found a buried camera pointed at her garden. She filed one last report, sent a cease and desist to Susan's door. A week later, Susan was gone. MOVYing van, for sale sign, silence. The neighborhood exhaled. Clara left muffins and a note. Saw thank you for holding the line. Saw others nodded, spoke softly, regretted their silence. The house sold fast, a new woman walking the yard, notepad in hand. Emma didn't dismantle her system. She cleaned it, locked the valve, and kept it ready. One spring evening, she had a few folks over, not a party, just wine, laughs, hands in the dirt. Someone asked about the system, if it was worth it. Emma glanced at the ground where the valve hid. It's not the water, she said. It's where you draw the line. Thunder rumbled, distant but alive. The rain would come, but the land was hers. Sasa, what do you think? Was Emma a master strategist, or just lucky? Should she have confronted Susan earlier, or kept playing the long game? Could Susan have been a VY Tim of her own paranoia, or was she pure malice? Drop your take below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you guessing. Ciao, ciao.